You may be wondering, what is this monstrosity behind me? So, in my last episode on the Craftiverse server, I made a giant redstone build, and the basic idea of this build is it's hooked up to a ENX04 Prismarine farm, and so it produces a lot of drops that I wanted to have, sorted, and I wanted to automatically have them crafted into blocks. So what this does, the basic idea, is the items get collected up here. They get spat out back into four different sorting systems, and then they get taken down, crafted in these small modules into the simple blocks. But the main problem is sea lanterns. Now, sea lanterns, they have a very specific crafting recipe, which I mentioned in the previous video. The basic crafting recipe is prismarine shard, crystal, and then shard, then three crystals, and then the same top loop. So we need a crafter that can work with this different pattern. So the basic idea, I mean, I've built redstone contraptions like this in the past. For example, the golden carrot crafter and the concrete ones that I've made. And so the basic idea would be you need this system, which you can configure to drop different kinds of items with different amounts. So if I were to change this a little bit, it would instead drop more items with a longer tick. So I configured it to drop 3 items like this, and that would be for the middle 3 crystals for the sea lanterns. And so this is the main body of the entire autocrafter. So the system here, this is the autocrafter. You could switch it on and off by using this. But the basic idea of it is you need a system that can do those 1, 2, 3 in a row for the first row. So basically it needs to shoot out a prismarine shard, a crystal, and then a shard again. So with this system, it sends a pulse down here through this observer. A 1 tick pulse is sent through this redstone line, and then 2 ticks later, another one is sent through this this repeater. And so basically, we send a 1 tick pulse down here, which is the first pulse to arrive at this by the dispenser, or the dropper, sorry. Then a tick later, you get a pulse going through the bottom dropper, and then because of this repeater, another tick gets sent through the first dropper. Then you need the 3 crystals to be sent out, so that's where this system comes in. If we follow this down here, you actually get, with this observer, you get this dropper sending its item through, which then activates basically this entire system. So there you can see the dropper with a 1 tick pulse sends it into the hopper and then back, which is really nice. And so then right after the first sequence, this sequence activates. So where the three crystals would be in the middle, basically. And then you want it to repeat that step. So going back to the start, we have this pulse extender, where basically a pulse gets sent down and then up back through this first initial system. And so after the entire and the entirety of this system is finished, another pulse will go through this small module. And so that would be the final crystal shard of the crafting recipe. Then it gets detected through this system. So this is a crafter with a output of 8, so a signal strength of 8. So when this crafter has 9 detected, it sends a pulse through, and it crafts automatically through this really tiny system. So it goes into the copper bulb, then out through here, and it crafts the item back there. Really nice, really compact, and yeah. If I turn it on, I could show you how it works. So basically, once this crafts, it fills in the 3 first, then these three in the middle, and then back down there. The system starts, it sends a signal down here, so that's that first signal, and then you see this one activates twice. Then down here you see the signal as well, so that would be the 3. And then if you follow this line, you can see that this one pulses 3 times, so that's the 3 crystals, and then it runs the entire loop again. So if we follow this one from the start, you can see that one delays the last part. One thing you can actually do is if you are short on materials, obviously it's a very expensive thing to craft. You can replace this with a composter, and you have to make sure it's a value of 8. So when the bone meal is at the top, then you can just use it. So how did I make this kind of foolproof on the server? So if this was to be unloaded, or if one of these droppers, for example, was empty on the server, then it would obviously break the crafting system, because it would shoot in only the shards and not the actual crystals. So I wanted to make this basically as foolproof as possible, to where I have kind of an on and off switch. So this is an AND gate, and the way it works is if these 2 droppers send out a signal strength of above 1, then this comparator will be allowed to be on. So the reason why it does this is because this composter is outputting a signal strength of 1 into the sides of these subtract mode comparators. Those comparators are then sending a full power signal into the sides of these comparators. And so when this one detects that both going into the side are greater than 15, because this is 15, then this comparator will turn on. So at the moment, only one of these is outputting a signal strength higher than 1, so you can see that by this one being off. So if I turn this on, then you can see this comparator turns on, and when this one turns off, then it turns off. And so that would be the same on the other side. You can see the comparator is on the right, and then it turns off as soon as I take away more than a signal strength of 1. This is a really cool system, because what it means is that when the farm has enough items to be able to turn on, then it will, and if it doesn't, then it turns itself off, which is a really nice safety feature. So I wanted to simplify it. I think this was a first test that I had with that, but this is the one that I actually wanted to do. So it removes the need for the repeaters, and it makes it a lot cheaper because you don't use the redstone blocks. You use the composters. And so we're able to do this because this only sends out a signal strength of 1, and this only needs a signal strength of 1 throughout the entire thing. So once these have more than a stack of items in there, it turns on, which is really, really nice. So pretty much perfect in our situation. Now, how do I add this system to this tiny system? So the way that the way that the comparators are facing in this entire system is they're pretty much like stacked on top of each other because of the orientation of these droppers, and we can't have them sticking out the front because that's where a water stream would go. If you take a look over here, there's a water stream coming straight out of that out of the crafter. So what we had to do is, I modeled it down here. We had to figure out a way that we could read the signals from these 2 droppers, but still have the AND gate kind of in place. And so the way we did it is we have this section in the back, which we can cut out basically back here because we have space. Basically they're stacked on top of each other, and then they come out a little bit, and I'm looking at the wrong one. So they're stacked on top of each other. These are basically mirrored, so this is the same thing down there. The composters feed into this block, so this one should have a stack in it. If we take that out, that'll change. So I'll add this observer into the bulb, just for me to visualize the system working for you. The comparator goes into there, then a full signal strength is sent into here. So once this is higher than both of these values, then it basically turns on. And so when this has a stack in it, this one currently has half a stack. So if I was to input a stack into there, you'd see that once that turns on, the system is on. But if I were to take, let me remove that. If I were to take half of this off, the system turns off. And that would go for either of these two sides, which is really, really nice. So it's a good smart way to turn off the system automatically. And so here you can see how I actually used the AND gate. So when this comparator turns on, that's the last final comparator basically. It sends a signal through here, which then retracts the observer to turn it on and off, or at least that allows for the next cycle to be turned on and off. So let me see if I can demonstrate this. So once we have enough crystals in here, so once the system detects that that the crafter or the droppers are empty, it sends a signal and basically stops the entire system. So here you can see, there we go. It turns off the system so that the loop doesn't repeat, and the crafter isn't full because it didn't send another cycle, and so this one stops at at a point where it is empty, or it isn't empty, but a point where it doesn't craft anymore, which is really nice. And so this is one of the fourths to this entire thing, and then basically all the blocks go down. They just get auto sorted into their respective places. Truth be told, it's a little excessive, the amount of storage space down there, but for long AFK sessions, it'll be very nice. And yeah, I mean, that is pretty much it with this giant redstone build. Overall, it's not very complicated. I'd say the only difficult thing would be the PRISMARINE crafter itself, but once you have that one built, it works very nice. There's one issue that I noticed, and that's that if it's not in a chunk like this, then there is a chance that it desyncs itself basically, and what will happen is you'll get a situation where more than, you know, a designated item is in a slot. So something like this will happen. It'll basically spit out a crafting recipe that is not the exact same thing. So when you are building this, try to center it in a chunk. You do that by pressing F3 and G, and you get the chunk borders. But basically, yeah, that's the only main issue I've seen with this thing, and that goes for all the actual this system-based designs that I've done in the past. But other than that, yeah, I mean, that's the entire build. Now we have the two Autocrafters. So these are the simple ones for the PRISMARINE. These are a really simple design. It doesn't work for everything, but this design does work in this situation. The reason it doesn't work for everything is because when you send a signal through this system, it has a double pulse, and I'll show what I mean in a second. I should put it in both. So they're tileable, and that's because of the rails on top. But you can see a double pulse because this changes to a 9 and then back to an 8, and that's because the crafter is updating its pulse. But basically, that double pulse doesn't really matter because when you craft with PRISMARINE shards, it can't double craft. So to show you what I mean by double craft, if we were to use wood, for example, and we were to fill this thing up, you'd see things that are unwanted being crafted, and so this system kind of sends a signal through it, and then because of the second pulse, it then crafts either a button or a pressure plate because of these two being filled. So that's a reason you wouldn't want to use this system, at least in this configuration. However, in my case, because we're only crafting with the prismarine shards, and they can't be double crafted, it doesn't make much of a difference. And so that's a really nice small system that we can stack next to each other to automatically craft the prismarine blocks and the prismarine bricks. Very nice. So I haven't posted a redstone video in a while. It's been about, I think, 6 months, something like that. But if you enjoyed this video, let me know. Life's been busy, so yeah. I mean, I'm planning on getting back into it. Obviously, with the Craftiverse server, we have a lot going on, and a lot that needs a little bit of automation. So I'm here for that. If you liked the video, please like, share, and subscribe. And thank you very much. I will see you later. Bye bye.